Welcome everybody and thanks for your time today. I'm Matt Lovell, I'm the CEO of Centiq, and I am delighted to be joined by retail CIO expert Jon Weg with me today to talk about retail and the effects of IT transformation on organisations across the retail spectrum. Welcome Jon, and thanks for your time today.
Great, Matt. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate this opportunity to talk to you. And yes, as you say, I've worked in retail for quite a long time now. In fact, I've led international technology teams in some of the world's best known brands. And over the last 15 years, my experience has all been in the retail industry. Retail 2.0 was widely acknowledged in 2019 as being about providing meaningful consumer experiences and building lasting relationships. Consumers were becoming connected, they were increasingly influenced by peer recommendations, and they were conducting their own research digitally, and they were loyal to their own needs and not just brands. But the impacts of COVID-19 have magnified any shortcomings in business models, processes and systems. In fact, in April, 2 months into the lockdown, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said that he'd witnessed 2 years of digital transformation in just 2 months. And this rate of transformations continued throughout lockdown as more and more businesses and individuals from all generations become more comfortable with leveraging technology in the cloud. It's now more like 5 years of transformation in 5 months. And consumers have got used to not visiting stores. They've become far more digitally savvy, and they expect the same experience, the price, offers, delivery methods to be available however they choose to connect with brands. Plus, they all want it to be simple, frictionless and safe. Traditional seasons have been impacted. Things like back to school have no meaning. Social distancing rules in store are impacting services which were previously brand differentiators. Cash flow and risk have become central to buying decisions, and everything is ripe for disruption, with data being pivotal. In fact, more data is now available than ever before, with the proliferation of mobile devices and the Internet of Things. In fact, there was an IBM study that estimated 90% of all the data of mankind that exists in the world has been created in just the last 2 years. But just having the data is not useful. It's about turning it into insights and wisdom and ultimately to foresight. And there's a study by IDC which estimates that we're only analysing 1% of that data. Then that's the background of what's going on. And then there was a recent quarterly publication of the ERP magazine that has coined an increasingly popular phrase, retail 2.5, to describe this new heightened state that retailers urgently need to be able to adapt to survive. So that every single customer interaction now matters, whether it's physical or digital. And brands that were already on this journey now have a significant lead on their competitors. And those that were completely dependent on physical retail or weren't able to recognise customers that used more than one channel must now evolve quickly to remain relevant.
And it's really interesting, Jon, in a sense that this period of accelerated change, you've got retailers that have clearly got plans for retail 2.0 now, having to remodel those for 2.5. You've got those at one end of the spectrum who are high street only and have got real challenges around their cost base, their cost structures, and I guess, obviously enabling safe environments for their customers to now come back to. And then you've got those that have always been on this digital accelerated journey that have done very, very well out of the current challenges and are accelerating forward. And those sort of in the process of making that change and addressing those challenges, and data for that customer set is obviously moving around quite a lot, isn't it, in terms of how are your customers, what are your customers, how are they buying, how are you interacting with them, how are you selling, how are you delivering your experience. It's so difficult, isn't it, to actually plot the course that your organization, your business of the future in retail is going to be when there is both huge amounts of data but equal levels of uncertainty. How might organizations break that problem down?
Absolutely, it's a significant challenge. I don't think there's not a silver bullet answer, of course, to any of that. But I think it's really important now that businesses embrace technology, embrace digital, create open, flexible standards that allow them to pivot more easily, leverage cloud services wherever they can for scalability, and to allow them to try new things and change direction where needed.
And it's certainly the case from what we've seen, that organisations that are more advanced on that journey, that have been able to pivot, whether it's to reduce cost in platform terms because they're on the cloud, or indeed make more rapid and agile changes to their business model, whether they've shifted to a completely online model, they have been, less affected by the lockdown scenario. All organisations are looking at the model very differently now, Retail 2.5, to say, what is the shape of the business, and how do we need to pivot those processes to actually cater, because distribution's been disrupted. Nobody could ever have foreseen the level of disruption to supply chains, but actually, because we've had lockdown, we've never tested a scenario where seasons ahead would be disrupted by macroeconomic events.
Absolutely, and supply chain, of course, is so critical, with retailers having such small margins typically. The current effect is having a really big impact on profit. So even grocers who've experienced significant revenue increases aren't necessarily able to convert that to profit at the moment.
And it's an equal challenge, isn't it? You've seen the renaissance of independence. I saw Ross Bailey writing in the CEO of Appear Now and Appear Here. He was saying, the renaissance is there, but they're facing with the same challenges, addressing, COVID safe environments for shoppers to come back to, and developing that community spirit. But, that's much more of a localized type approach, isn't it, to the retail experience than the macro. Supermarkets are obviously servicing the needs of greater populations, on a more generic basis. So it's how technologies are going to use technology differently. The retail experience is going to change, and it's going to diversify clearly here. So interesting times ahead of us for all of us, isn't it? So really appreciate your insights today, Jon. Thanks very much, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks very much, Matt.
Cheers.